Walter Nitinchuk has been named Chief of Defense Staff. Nitinchuk has been in the Army for more than 30 years as a tank officer. He's also the current Vice Chief. He'll replace General Rick Hillier in the top job next month. Nitinchuk says he's looking forward to providing leadership to the men and women of the Canadian Forces, and he says he hopes to visit the troops in Afghanistan soon. Well, Afghanistan may be Lieutenant General Nitinchuk's biggest challenge as he assumes his new role, taking over from General Hillier. But there are other challenges as well. To discuss them, I'm joined by Thomas Adams. He is a specialist in security and defense issues with the Canadian International Council. Thomas Adams, good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
You know, here's a fellow who is certainly a protege of Rick Hillier's, but Lieutenant General Nitinchuk certainly has a reputation of knowing his own mind. Given that, is his strategy in Afghanistan probably the most important mission Canada's military faces right now? Is his strategy there likely to differ at all from General Hillier's?
I think there will be a lot of continuity from General Hillier's way of doing things. That's not to say that Lieutenant General Nitinchuk won't put his own spin on things, won't leave his own mark, but there will indeed be a bit of continuity. He was indeed General Hillier's Vice Chief of Defense Staff. That's not to say also that he won't... Sorry, go ahead.
How are they likely to differ?
I suppose it depends entirely on the direction that the Government of Canada wants him to go in as well. So there will be continuity. He is, more or less a disciple of General Hillier, but he will put his own mark on it, and again, it all depends on the government. A
disciple of General Hillier, granted, but he comes from a unique perspective. For example, his battlefield experience.
Yes.
He has, essentially, he was Deputy Commander of Multinational Forces in Iraq.
Yes.
So he's seen the situation in Iraq. He's had battlefield experience there, as well as in the Balkans. Does that give him a different vantage point to view what's happening in Iraq?
I think it's certainly
in Afghanistan.
Yes, I think it certainly gives him a unique perspective on how things will be working now that there are some 1,000 extra Marines, U.S. Marines in Regional Command South. He certainly has experience dealing with American forces, and that will certainly give him an advantage.
He's also worked as a commander at Fort Hood, which has a population of something like 60,000 troops, which is equivalent to the whole Canadian Armed Forces.
That's true. And
sorry, after you.
I was just going to say that he is respected as well by some of the people in the U.S. forces.
Well,
so he does have that relationship with them.
What advantage does that relationship bring for Canada?
Again, I mean, I think it's just a matter of him understanding how they operate, having those unique insights that other people that may not have served with U.S. forces may have.
Does it make him potentially a more pliable commander of Canadian forces for the Americans?
I don't think.
How will they view his role?
I don't think it will necessarily make him more pliable. I think he is a strong person. He does have his own personality, and he won't necessarily bend to every single will that the Americans have. But he will be able to do the job competently.
How about back here in Canada? Because there are significant challenges for the Chief of Defense Staff here. Recruitment, the management of the services here, finding the materiel necessary to follow through on these missions. Once again, is his approach and strategy likely to differ from General Hillier's?
Again, I mean, I think there will be some continuity. He will put his own mark on it, and he will do what is told of him, but he will do so competently. Now, he does have quite a few things that he will have to do, and you did mention recruitment, which is an important issue, as is procuring certain systems and vehicles and equipment. So.
Ultimately, he will have political masters. That's the reality. Now, I think one of the things that charmed Canadians about General Hillier was that he chafed at that control. And you could see it. You could see a streak of independence in the way Hillier conducted his leadership of the armed forces. Are we going to see that come through with Lieutenant General Nitinchuk?
We may, and
because he has a reputation as quieter,
He does, yes.
less expressive character.
He does have that reputation of being a bit quieter, yes, you are correct, but he will have his own personality, and if recruitment is one aspect that he will have to face, that personality is essential. He needs to get out there and make it known, as Hillier did, that the Canadian Forces are back, and
Sure.
it's a worthy endeavor to take part in.
Is he going to be more easily managed by the politicians than Hillier was?
Again, he may or may not. That remains to be seen.
You're not going to commit on that one.
I'm not going to commit.
Okay. Thomas Adams, good talking to you.
pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thomas Adams is a specialist in security and defense issues with the Canadian International Council. Well, it seems the troops in Afghanistan approve of the new Chief of Defense Staff, although most admit they'll miss General Rick Hillier. The general consensus is that Lieutenant General Walter Nitinchik, could I say general any more often, that Nitinchik is going to do a good job.
Given what we're doing right now with the military over here, he's got the background, he's worked with